The Cold War. My name is Jesus Martin Viscovedo, a student from Universidad Tec Milenio, and I'm going to be talking about the event of the Cold War. The Cold War. The Cold War refers to the fight that was between the Soviet Union and the United States. It started due to the great rivalry that was between the Communists and the Allies. Dates. The important dates to know from this event are the following ones. When did it start? 1947, the Korean War, June 1950, Bay of Pigs, April 17, 1961, the Cuban Missile Crisis, October 1962, Soviets invade Afghanistan, December 1979, United Germany, November 9, 1989, when did it ended? 1991. Why is it called Cold War? This event refers to the term of Cold War since there wasn't even a war as itself between those two countries. They never attacked directly, so it never occurred a fight between the USSR and the USA on those dates. They didn't have all the armament and stuff, but they never had a need to use it against each other. How does capitalism and socialism work? Capitalism is an economic system in which three sections participate: the seller, the buyer, and the government. Capitalism is based on the money. In order to produce more money, government has a complete power of it. When you're trying to sell something, you're going to sell it in a higher price in order to have a profit from that object, and you're going to change it in for money. That's how it works, and it moves on and on. The profit that you get will be thanks to the demand that is on the object you're trying to sell. Some of the proposers of this system were Adam Smith, David Ricardo, and Thomas Malthus. Socialism refers as the economic activity to satisfy your personal needs. That means there is no sale nor profit in this activity. You're going to manage all of your properties and goods in order to satisfy yourself. You're going to run it by yourself without selling or any other activity. Socialism are going to own your necessaries of productions. The proposers of this economic activity were Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. The interviewed person, and I quote, the Cold War was a really bad event because even though it wasn't a war itself, there were many invasions in countries from Central America, and there were many directed and indirected people involved in this event. Not only there were ill people, they were even killed by such delicate process of invasion. It would have been a different outcome if this process would have never happened, but we will never know how it will be without the presence of Cold War. Ana Luz Alcido Gracia, 71 years old, grandmother. Script. The Cold War lasted from 1947 to 1991. So back then the countries who were world leaders were the Soviet Union and Germany mainly. After the Cold War ended, many nations changed their posts of allies into enemies due to the USSR resulted more benefited from other nations, so they automatically converted into enemies from the USA. Due to all the invasions that took place, we could say that the Cold War took many place in Cuba and in other countries from Central America. Since most of the time people took place in countries in America, many people consider they didn't result too much affected from this event due to it wasn't properly a war, remarking that point. Not only did they use weapons such as NA-22, trigger bomb, nuclear weapon, or attack missile, but they used the physiological warfare, which was a method in which they were alert about what the enemy was doing, being over their shoulders or knowing their next or following movement. Personal opinion, the Cold War. And I quote, I consider the Cold War wasn't as bad as it could have been since it wasn't properly a war. Unfortunately, even though it was a light event, many people resulted damage from it. Another important factor is that it lasted several years, so they were constantly aware of their enemies and their following movement. That means there wasn't too much peace neither in the USSR back then nor in USA during those years. About the two economic system. I'd rather live in a capitalist system than in a socialist system since I'm already used to it. Imagine if here in Mexico we live in a different economic system. Not only will we have a different way of life, but also we will have a different personalities, we will have a different style. There are too many factors to make into account because it is a very delicate system and we have to consider the risk that it may cause. The capitalism, what I like from this system is the fact entrepreneurs are born from this economic activity due to they need to do something in order to survive out there in society. Socialism, what I like from this activity is that you practically depend from yourself. You don't depend from anyone else or by the government. If you want to satisfy your needs, you immediately need to do something in order to satisfy them. The forum. After the end of the Cold War, political and economical reforms were provided with the creation of the market and by the establishment of pluralist parliamentary. Many military structures were dissolved when the USSR separated. With these dissolutions, the USA began gaining even more power. Europe began redefining itself as an economic power. With that economic power, the democracy in Europe started becoming a more important factor in the European Union. The division between Western and Eastern states maintained the same as before. As a result of the Cold War, the euro currency became being as a vastly important fundament. There was more integration of the countries in the allowance of free markets and reduced barriers for trade. The level of cooperation that exists between the states is unprecedented. Europe is now more concerned and responsible for its business for the future than the USA is or in modern Russia. Europe is more closer than even before in their entire history. Europe is now based more in political and social integration. Each European nation has more identity of being in their own nation. There are clearly higher levels of diversity and freedom than before. The people's styles of life have drastically improved with the pass of the years. Countries. The most mainly capitalist countries are United States, South Korea, Switzerland, Saudi Arabia, France, South Africa, Uruguay, Japan, and the most mainly socialist countries are China, Denmark, Finland, New Zealand, Sweden, Norway, Canada, and last but not least, the Netherlands. And here we can see the replies that I make to my classmates of the forum. And here are the references not only for part 1, but also for part 2. That will be all for me. Thank you for your attention. Have a really nice day. Thank you.